Hello, welcome back to your crocheted nativity scene, and this week we're going to be making the gifts from the three wise men. So the gold, myrrh and frankincense. The gold one I've done in gold, but the rest I've kind of just done to match the kings really, but you can do them obviously in any colour you like. So you need 3 Quality Street, and the ones you need are coconut eclair, orange crunch, and this one is the chocolate block. So those 3. Any others in the box you can eat as we're going along. You have my permission. So we're going to make a start. We're going to do the blue one first. And they're all a little bit similar and dead easy. And you're going to start by chaining 8. So just move those out of the way. And we're going to chain 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to work a double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So 1, 2. And then into each stitch thereafter. Into the next one. That's 3. That's 4. 5, 6 and 7. So that gives you 7 stitches. It's easier to count as you go when you're only using this amount of stitches than try and count them after. So the next 13 rows, you want 14 rows altogether. So the next 13 rows are going to be chain 1, turn, double crochet in that very first stitch, and each stitch, so remember it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, get rid of that tail, 6, and don't forget the last one in the turning chain, which is a bit awkward, 7, and again 1, chain 1 and turn, and 7, 1. If you count, you'll know that you've got them right. You don't need to worry about have I got it in the right stitch or the last stitch or this stitch or that stitch. So just count as you go. Anyway, so you're going to do that for 14 rows in total. So pause this video and we'll come back when your 14 rows in total are done. So you should now have your 14 stitches. An easy way of counting is you just kind of look at the ridges on double crochet, and one whole ridge is 2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 rows. So now what we need to do is work down the side of the piece. So we're not working across anymore, we're working down the side. So you're going to chain 1 and you're going to double crochet into the next 4 stitches. Now they're not proper stitches, so you've just got to kind of work out where they are. So nice and even. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And on those 4 stitches we're going to work another 4 rows. So that 5 in total. That was your first, and another 4. So chain 1 and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 1 and turn, and do that for a total of 5 rows. So your first row when you were adding the stitches is row 1, so 4 after that. That's 3, and the last one. Do 1 single chain, cut and pull your yarn, leave yourself a decent tail for sewing, and we're going to turn the piece over. So we're going to join to this corner here, the opposite to the one that you were in there, pop your hook in, fetch your yarn through and chain 1 and work a double crochet into the first 4 stitches, the ones you're going to have to make. 1, 2, 3 and 4. And just like on this side, we're going to do another 4 rows. So chain 1, 1 into each stitch for another 4 rows. So what you should have now is what looks like a little jumper, a T shape. We're going to join the long end, so this long end here, all the way around the 3 ends of this. So it has to fit like that, then like that, and then come in like that. Does that make sense? We'll sew one up and show you. So thread up your needle. And we're going to sew it along that way first. So just lay it down flat. Just like that. When you've come to the end, we'll just work back again. So we've got our thread in the right place for the next bit. I'll actually turn it around because it'd be easier, because the next bit we're going to sew is that bit. You see, that bit across there. Making sure you've got enough to flap over. So we're going to sew that bit down there now. And finally, that's the neighbours having a shout if you can hear. Finally down this bit. This is why I couldn't record them yesterday. Just put a loop in and then we can lose that by threading it through a few. Weaving it in, chopping it off, and you've cubed that end. So now all that's left to do is do exactly the same on the other side. So we're going to thread up this end here. I'm trying to talk louder to drown her out. It's not working. I'm going to lay that across there, making sure that you've got enough again to kind of wrap around. Don't use too much of this. Make sure that it's pulled back slightly. And we're going to sew that across there. And we can go back again to see if you're cutting off your yarn and starting again. We'll just lead it back. Lay that bit across there, again making sure that there's enough to flap over like that. I need to get a soundproofed room. It was drilling this morning from the other side. Lots of DIY. And that leaves your last bit to tuck over to there and just sew that into place. Just loop knot it, thread it through, cut it off. Now, because you've sewn that side, I would recommend that you turn it the other way in. Then you can grab your chocolate, pop your chocolate in. Then all you need to do now is get a piece of yarn in a different colour. We'll go for this one. Obviously sew all these ends in first. Piece of yarn in a different colour. We start at the top, we turn it over, we cross it at the bottom, turn it back over, fetch it back round to the top and tie it in a bow. Just fetch that round a little. Oops, that's because I haven't sewn the ends in and I've been lazy. Now we can cut those off and pretend those aren't there. And you've got a little gift. Okay, so that's your chocolate eclair one. Was it chocolate eclair? Yeah, coconut eclair. So your next one is a green chocolate block. Now it's more or less done exactly the same, just the stitch count is different. So instead of starting with chain 8, you're going to start with chain 7 for this one. You're still going to do your 14 rows. Then you're going to work down the side of the piece for 3 stitches, not for 4. And you do another 2 rows of that. Do the T-shape on the other side and you sew it up in the same way. So that's how you do that. So your orange crunch, let's have a go at this one. Slightly different, this one. So you're going to chain 2. Just start with a chain 2. 1, 2. And you're going to work 6 double crochets into the second chain from your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I'm going to put a marker in, just so you know where the start and the beginning is. Put a marker in there, and you're going to work 2 double crochets into each of your 6 stitches. So it's a bit like the head, isn't it, when we did the head and the body. So count back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's my 6th there. 2 into each. That's 1, 2. Did I put 2 in there? No, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's your 6. That gives you a stitch count of 12. So you're going to do 1 in the next, 2 in the next to give you a stitch count of 18. You've all been here before. 1 in the next, 2 in the next. I'll speed it up a little bit for you. Fetch your marker, stitch through. You're going to work 3 straight rounds. 3 straight rounds. 1 stitch into each stitch for 3 rounds. So that's your 3 rounds. You can now remove your marker, put your hook back in, and we're going to just slip stitch it into the next stitch and end your yarn. So 1 single chain, leave yourself a decent amount of tail for sewing, fetch it through and turn it the right way in. Right, so you're going to make 2 pieces of the following. You don't need your marker stitch for this one. You're going to chain 2 and work 3 double crochets into the second chain from your hook. 1, 2, it's fiddly, 3, and this time we're going to turn. I'm going to turn with a chain 1 and work 2 double crochets into each of the 3 stitches. 1, so that was 2 into the first one, 2 into the second one, and 2 into the last one, giving you a stitch count of 6. Chain 1, 1 into the next and 2 into the next 3 times. So 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next. End your yarn, 1 single chain, cut it and pull it. Now you need to go make another one of these, exactly the same. So what you should have is 2 little flap bits and 1 little circle. So thread up your long line on your circle, your long thread, your long line, and we're going to lay your flap bit round the side like that, you see, and just sew that into place. So you're just going to stitch that round. Stitch for stitch, because your stitch counts should be exact there, with 9 on the small pieces and 18 on the big. Okay, once you've got one in place, you're going to pick up the other one. Look at all these tails, they're so annoying. And you're going to do exactly the same with that. And then just a couple of stitches with loops at the end. Sewing that thread and sewing all of your other threads, which I'm not going to make you watch me do. And you'll have a little cup that you can then slide your chocolate into. Oh, or you can just chuck it on the floor. Right, I'm back. It took me ages to find that. Right, so where were we? Yes, you can just slide your chocolate into it, just like that, and then you're going to tie it up with a ribbon, like we did the other gifts. And there's your chocolate orange cover. Not chocolate orange cover, orange crunch cover. So you should end up with your 3 little chocolate covers. That's what they look like with the ribbons, and then you need your little ribbons on, and that's your gifts. Happy hooking!